Doing well. So what I want to talk about today is inflammation and fertility. Now, this probably is a little abstract of a topic. If you're like, what is inflammation? What does that have to do with fertility? So I actually think this is a really important topic. So that's why I wanted to talk about it. I did a class yesterday on ways you can support egg health. And this was actually a topic that we covered a lot in that class because there's a couple different reasons. I'm going to talk about some studies here so you can kind of understand where I'm coming from with it and also understand exactly what inflammation is. So first of all, let's talk about what inflammation is. Inflammation is the body's natural response to protecting the body from something. So if you stub your toe, the body's going to have an inflammatory response. It's going to send blood. It's going to send healing compounds, all of that to help with that injury, right? So that's good. We want to have a healthy inflammatory response. It's part of the miracles of our body. Now, when we have things that are constantly irritating the body, we have what can be called chronic inflammation. And then this is now being shown through a couple different studies to actually have a negative impact on fertility, but also it happens to always be there and appearing when, sorry, I plugged my phone in, when there are fertility issues. So kind of let's dive into this. So good morning, guys. Hey, Mary, nice to see you. Hey, Dominique. Hey, Jamie. Okay. So let me just pull up the study so I can read it because I do not memorize these things. All right. So inflammation is how the immune system responds to stressors like injury or infection. The acute inflammatory response is important for your health, right? So that's good. But over time, imbalances can cause the immune system to have chronic inflammation where it's happening because of the foods we're eating. It's happening because we're under high stress. So we have all of these inputs in our life and our bodies that are causing chronic inflammation. And there's some thought that this can actually be part of what's causing fertility issues, or what we have found is it's always there. It's kind of like when they do correlative studies on different fertility issues and majority of the women have vitamin D deficiencies or things like that, where it's like there's always this, they're always there at the scene, right? So I think it's really important to focus on inflammation and have that be a part of what you're looking at. And before we get into kind of the issue of it and then the solution, just know that there's a lot of things you're already doing that are going to support this, but it's just going to give you more fuel for how powerful it is, the steps that you're taking. Okay. So research finds that inflammation is a common thread in health concerns like cardiovascular disease, arthritis, and immune disorders. New evidence points to inflammation as a factor in fertility as well. So some examples of that are going to be PCOS, endometriosis, immunological infertility. You know, that's a whole category. A lot of this has that connection to chronic inflammation. So it can be hard to see, you know, if you're not experiencing those things, are you experiencing inflammation? I'll go over some things that kind of show how your body is speaking that to you in just a minute, but let's talk about two different studies. According to a study published in Journal of Assisted Reproductive and Genetics, inflammation may explain why some IVF cycles succeed and others failed. All right, stick with me here. We're going to get geeky for 1 second. In the study, gene testing was done on ovarian follicle cells in IVF cycles that were successful. These were compared with ovarian follicle cells in cycles that were not successful. Follicles are a part of the ovary where the egg comes from. So those are what mature, and then the egg will come from that. Researchers found that there were more active inflammation genes in the cycles that failed compared to the cycles that were successful. So this study suggests that inflammation of the ovary follicles plays a negative role in the success of IVF cycle. So what does this mean for you, right? Not everyone's getting IVF, but because they are doing IVF, they're able to look at the follicles, they're able to look at all of this and make a correlative connection. So it's saying that do as much as you can to reduce inflammation to support the health of your eggs. It's already been established that inflammation in a woman's cycle can disrupt ovulation. So from this study, it appears that even if you're ovulating naturally or with the help of IVF, inflammatory factors can harm eggs that are harvested for IVF. So I find that to be extremely interesting. This happens, I feel like, with all the different tissues of our body and all of the cells of our body, this is happening. But when we can zone in and you're actually physically looking at this and seeing that evidence, I find it to be really interesting. Now, there are so many natural things we can do about this, and we're going to talk about those. So don't worry. It can be hard for some people to understand, like, oh, am I experiencing inflammation? I don't have, like a specific fertility issue. I might have it unexplained, or we're not quite sure what's going on. This is one of the parts or one of the areas that I focus on when that's happening, when there's a unknown cycle is regular, all of that, but still haven't gotten pregnant for a while. This is an area that I always make sure to include into the plan. Some common signs to look for that your body is saying, hey, there's inflammation occurring is going to be a couple of different things. I'm going to list them off here. Like skin issues out of nowhere, like acne. You've had great skin for most of your life, and then all of a sudden you're starting to get a lot of this acne, rosacea or eczema. A lot of these skin eruption type things are a sign of inflammation. It's a sign of the body releasing heat, the sign of the body trying to release some things. Redness or swelling in the body, a lot of digestive stuff like heartburn, irritable bowel syndrome. If you have trouble digesting certain foods and food allergies, that's causing inflammation in the digestive system. If you have a lot of like migraines, tension headaches, a lot of pressure building up in the body, or like chronically swollen lymph nodes, like your nodes here are always swollen for some reason. Those can be some signs. There are other ones as well, but it's kind of like these things where the body is having too much and it's having to put things in different places or push them out of the skin. So those are also some signs of the inflammation. So now what we're going to talk about is what you can do about it. So what happens is when I did my talk the other night, I went over antioxidants and I went over inflammation. And what's the amazing tie to those two is antioxidant rich foods are also always good for inflammation. They are the exact same foods. So this is why it's so important for egg health. And I think it's important for anyone who's wanting to support their fertility and has been having some trouble, is to address this. So easy peasy, right? What we can do is we can just flood the body with nutrients, with foods rich in antioxidants on a daily basis. Now you have to understand the body does not store antioxidants. Or these compounds, antioxidant type foods. So we have to have them on a daily basis and we need to have them regularly so they're constantly circulating. And you also want to make sure to have a wide variety of them because they all have different actions. They all have different abilities. So you don't want to, like one of the foods is going to be berries, right? You don't want to just eat blueberries every single day. You want a wide variety of these things. So the first one's going to be berries in general. These contain all kinds of anti-inflammatory compounds such as anthocyanins, but you want colors. Each color is going to represent different antioxidants and different compounds. So a lot of the antioxidants act as anti-inflammatory compounds. The next is going to be like fatty fish, long chain omega-3 fatty fish, salmon, sardines, herring. Let me know if you guys eat herring. That's always on these nutrition lists when I'm doing research. And I don't think I've ever had herring. Is that a European thing? I'm just wondering. Anchovies. And so anything with EPA and DHA is going to be really specific to this. The body metabolizes these fatty acids into compounds that have anti-inflammatory effects. The next is going to be cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, kale, Brussels sprouts, those types of things. They have compounds called sulforaphane, and these help to fight inflammation by reducing cytokines. Cytokines are a sign of inflammation within the body. There's a lot of different factors that they can test for to see, but that's one of them. That's also something you'd see with the immune system response, which is about the same thing. Avocados, those are going to contain fat-soluble antioxidants like carotenoids and tocopherols. So it's important to get water-soluble and fat-soluble ones. Others are going to be like green tea, mushrooms, grape skins, olive oil, dark chocolate, 70% or higher, tomatoes, cherries, and then turmeric, things like that. Turmeric, ginger, lemons, a lot of spices like cloves, oregano, thyme, those all are very high in anti-inflammatory compounds. So what does this look like in real life? This looks like eating a variety of whole foods. Yay! And the important five. So that is why I talk about the important five so much and adding those to your diet, because that's how you're going to easily, without putting a whole lot of thought into it, without having to be obsessed about it, that's how you're going to get these compounds on a daily basis. I also do supplement in addition, because we don't want this to take a long time, right? We want to get the best benefits and the best effect we can in the shortest amount of time possible. So I do supplement with antioxidants and anti-inflammatory compounds as well in my programs. But what you're eating is just as important as what you're not eating. So I'm going to quickly go over a list of things that will trigger inflammation in the body. I don't know why my phone keeps on pausing. Hopefully you guys can see me okay. Okay, so foods that trigger inflammation are going to be processed foods. we'll just keep it really simple at that. So like junk foods, foods that are fast food, potato chips, pretzels, a lot of times that's being caused from the types of trans fats and oils those foods are cooked in. Those will have an irritating effect, and they will cause inflammation within the body and the digestive system. Refined carbohydrates, things that have just been stripped down that are white carbs, like white breads, white tortillas, crackers, cookies, baked goods, things like that. Now, there are healthy alternatives to all of that. You're not going to never eat a cookie in your life. There's just, you want some alternatives that are going to help have beneficial ingredients. And then also added sugars is a huge one. That's when I talk a lot about removing added sugars from your life. Again, doesn't mean you're never going to have something sweet again. It just means like, let's use some monk fruit. Let's like stevia. Let's like these other things that we can still have sweet in our life, but we don't have this added sugar from like sodas and candies and sports drinks and those types of things, so that we're not adding additional issues and problems. So those are some of the foods that can definitely add inflammation. Also, if you do have food allergies, addressing that and finding alternatives for those. If you are really sensitive to gluten, that's definitely something to take out of your life. But there's so many good alternatives now. My son eats gluten-free. He gets terrible stomach aches from it. So we mostly are as well. But if that's an issue for you, definitely cut that out. Find some alternatives, because it will make a really big difference. So I just wanted to talk about this topic because I feel like it's another one of those hidden factors that's being addressed when I'm talking day in, day out. I'm like, nutrition, flood the body with nutrients. There's a lot of reasons I'm saying that I may not talk about all the time, but it's because of inflammation. It's because we need those antioxidants. We want healthy uterine lining. We want healthy eggs. The list is huge to the benefits of these nutrients. So there you go. That's today's topic. That's what I wanted to cover. So know the next time you're eating a gorgeous salad with a wide variety of vegetables and colors, all the things that it's doing for you. Also, when you're like, oh, I got to take my supplements again, I got to do my regime again today, know what the magic is that's happening with these things and what they're doing and helping your body to do. I will stay on real quick and do a little bit of Q&A if my phone will stay on. Okay, so Astrid is saying that they eat herring in Africa. Okay, awesome. So perfect. I'll keep talking about herrings then. Are they? I bet they're like a little fish is my guess. And they taste good. Awesome. She says, someone else says herrings is it amazing in oil with onion and vinegar or tomato sauce and raisins. Ooh, we're getting some recipes up in here for herring, guys. That's awesome. Hey, UK. Hey, Astrid. Okay. Do we need to do a food sensitivity test? So you can get testing done. So here, you can definitely get testing done. That can be helpful. I know not everyone has access to testing or can afford it. So what you can do as well is do some research on like elimination diet, or just simply pick something like, okay, gluten. I'm going to not eat gluten for 2 weeks and see how my body reacts. Do I feel better? Do certain things clear up that were bothering me? Is my digestion better? So then that's how you can get feedback from your own body. I am all about listening to the body and taking action from there. You can also, like another one might be dairy. Like maybe you keep on having this weird rash and it's never gone away. Try cutting out dairy for 2 weeks, see what happens. That's another thing that you can do that helps to support, that helps you to see the feedback from your body, is removing that thing for a period of time. What's my take on caffeine and inflammation? That's a really good question. I haven't really thought too much about it. I think that there's things like these processed foods that are going to be more detrimental. There's a lot of different reasons to not drink coffee, but I don't think it's like across the board telling everyone to stop drinking coffee. I think it's, if you're seeing hormonal issues, if you have like a list of things going on, definitely something worth trying out. How about fermented foods, sauerkraut and kimchi? Yes, so those are going to be great. A lot of the foods in kimchis and sauerkrauts are going to be cruciferous vegetables. And I bet them being fermented would actually help a lot of the nutrients to be absorbed. So that would be great. Zapani is saying that they eat herring in Europe. Okay, great. So everyone else eats herring but us. Or maybe I'm just the only one who doesn't eat herring. Maybe there's other people in the States that eat it. Can intralipid infusions help? So the inflammation that I'm talking about right now is not necessarily going to be like the autoimmune fertility issue solution. That is a lot more complex, where someone is monitoring you and you are taking different infusions, taking different types of medications to help with your body's immune response to attacking cells. That's a whole nother level. What I'm talking about is the general chronic day-to-day inflammation that a lot of people are experiencing because of our modern lifestyle. So that would actually be two different topics. This would be a part of it, but that is a much bigger, more complicated situation that's happening that needs a lot more support than just food and supplements. What supplements can you take if you want to get pregnant? That is on a one-to-one person basis. Everybody is different with what's going on with their fertility. So I approach that in a very holistic way that would be individual to each person. Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will be on again tomorrow for what's it called? Fertility Friday Q&A. Yay. All right, guys, have a good one.